We are back. This is Ryan Moon on Parlay News, where we are covering the hottest sports prediction markets on Kalshi right now. Our show today is about how the Philadelphia 76ers have become major underdogs following Joel Embiid's emergency appendectomy, even with Tyrese Maxey leading the charge. So here's the situation. Can a 25-cent underdog rewrite the entire narrative of Joel Embiid's playoff legacy in one night? Because that's exactly what's on the table tonight in Philadelphia, where the Sixers host the Celtics in Game 3 of their playoff series with the fate of the process hanging in the balance. And here's the thing, nobody's talking about. The market might be giving you a gift-wrapped opportunity to bet on chaos. Let me paint you the picture. The Celtics and Sixers are tied 1-1 in their 24th postseason meeting. Boston holds a 15-8 edge in those previous 23 series, which means Philly fans carry 2 decades of playoff trauma like a second mortgage. These aren't just teams. They're generational blood feuds wrapped in basketball uniforms. This rivalry has more bad blood than a Taylor Swift album and twice the drama. 3 days ago, Philadelphia shocked everyone by stealing Game 2 in Boston, 111-97. Tyrese Maxey dropped 29-9. The Wells Fargo crowd is about to be nuclear, and the series looked reset. Then came the appendectomy. Joel Embiid, the guy they built an entire franchise around, the MVP they've been waiting to deliver in the playoffs, is listed doubtful for tonight with appendectomy surgery recovery. And suddenly, this isn't just a basketball game. It's a referendum on whether Philly can survive without their superstar, whether Maxey can ascend from sidekick to closer, and whether Boston can steal a road game against a desperate crowd when the opponent's best player might be in street clothes. Here's what the market is telling you. Boston opened as 7.5-point favorites on the road. In a tied series, against a team that just embarrassed them, that spread translates to roughly 72% implied probability for the Celtics, which means the Philly wins Game 3 contract is trading around 25 to 30 cents. But here's where it gets interesting. That 25-cent price assumes Embiid is cooked. It assumes Maxey's 29-point explosion was a fluke. It assumes home court doesn't matter. And I'm here to tell you, the market might be wrong on all 3 counts. Let's start with the human drama, because that's what makes this bet compelling. Embiid has spent years fighting the narrative that he's never available when it matters. Fair or not, his playoff resume is incomplete. MVP caliber dominance in the regular season, compromised when championships are decided. An appendectomy isn't a pain tolerance question, it's legitimate surgery. But the timing creates almost Shakespearean tension. If he plays hurt and they lose, critics say he should have sat. If he sits and they lose, the never available narrative hardens into concrete. But if he somehow guts through 25 minutes and Philly wins, that becomes a legacy-defining performance that rewrites his entire playoff reputation. It's like that meme of the guy sweating over 2 buttons, except one button says, preserve your health, and the other says, become a Philadelphia legend forever. Now here's what Boston is betting on. Overwhelming talent advantage. Without Embiid's rim gravity, Philly has no post-up threat, no lob threat, no player who commands double teams in the paint. The Celtics can switch everything, stay home on shooters, and force contested jumpers all night. Their offensive system, high-volume threes, ball movement, depth, should mathematically overwhelm a depleted Sixers rotation. And they're probably right. Boston is the better team. They have more proven playoff closers, better defensive versatility, and the coaching staff to make adjustments after that Game 2 embarrassment. If you're betting with your head, you take Boston at 70 cents and sleep easy. But here's where your inner degenerate should perk up, because Tyrese Maxey isn't some random role player having a hot shooting night. This is a legitimate all-star who's averaged 28.5 points through 2 games and has embraced being the primary closer. He's listed as available despite a right finger tendon strain requiring a splint, which means the market might be double discounting Philly. Once for Embiid's absence, again for Maxey's injury. Except splints on non-shooting hands rarely create a performance. If the public over-discounts Philadelphia because Maxey is hurt, you're getting a stealth discount on a guy who just torched Boston for 29-9. That's like getting a discount on GameStop because someone said the store smelled weird. The fundamentals haven't changed, people. Here's the contrarian thesis. Philly at 25 cents is mispriced because the market hasn't fully adjusted to who Maxey's become. Wells Fargo Center will be deafening. Home court in a tied playoff series is worth 3 to 4% in win probability. Single game variance in playoff basketball is massive. If Boston goes cold from 3 and Philly hits 13 or 14, the talent gap evaporates. And here's the embedded optionality nobody's pricing correctly. Doubtful doesn't mean 0% chance. If Embiid somehow plays 20 to 25 minutes, even compromised, even limited, Philly's win probability spikes to 45 or 50% instantly. You're getting that upside for free at 25 cents. That's like buying a call option where the premium is basically a rounding error. Now let's talk about how to actually bet this thing, because timing matters more than direction. If you're playing it safe, wait for final injury clarity. If Embiid is officially ruled out, the Boston contract price will drop slightly as uncertainty is removed. That's your entry point. Grab Boston at 68 to 70 cents and ride the better team. If Embiid is somehow upgraded to questionable close to game time, public money will flood Philly and spike Boston's price. That's when you fade the Embiid hype, because post-appendectomy he's not full-strength MVP. He's a compromised version playing on guts and painkillers. But if you want the spicy play, if you're the kind of trader who understands variance and can stomach a loss, a small Philly position at 25 to 30 cents is defensible. You only need them to win 1 in 4 times for this to be break-even. I'd argue their true win probability is closer to 32 to 35% when you factor in Maxey's ascension, home court, and shooting variance. That's 5 to 7% of edge. Size it at 2 to 3% of your portfolio max. It's a lottery ticket, not an investment thesis. But it's a lottery ticket with better odds than the market is giving you. Think of it like buying deep out-of-the-money calls on a volatile stock. You're not betting on the expected outcome, you're betting on the fat tail. Here's what nobody's talking about. This game is also a prop better's paradise. If you believe the Philly defense narrative that they can slow Boston down at home with crowd energy, you can bet the under on Boston's team total. If you think Maxey is the story, there are player prop markets on his points and assists that might lag the moneyline adjustment. If you believe Boston cruises, there are first half spread markets that pay better than the full game line. The key is everything ties back to the same question. Can Philly's desperation and Maxey's evolution overcome Boston's talent and depth in a single game? The market says no at 72% confidence. I'm saying maybe at 65% confidence, which makes Philly at 25 cents interesting. And here's the mispriced angle sharp bettors should jump on. If Embiid is ruled out early and casual money panics out of Philly, you might see that 25-cent price dip to 22 or 23 cents. That's when you pounce, because the absence of uncertainty is worth something. It removes the what if he plays and dominates tail risk for Boston, but it also removes the what if he plays and gets hurt worst disaster scenario for Philly. Clarity favors the underdog when the favorite was already priced for bad news. Look, the smart money is on Boston. They're more talented, more experienced, and more likely to execute down the stretch. 70% is probably the right number, but that 30% chance for Philly? That's not nothing. That's Maxey going supernova again. That's Boston shooting 10 for 40 from 3. That's the Wells Fargo crowd willing this team to a signature win that validates a decade of rebuilding. That's the kind of chaos that makes playoff basketball worth watching and worth betting. So can a 25-cent underdog rewrite Joel Embiid's playoff legacy tonight? Probably not. Boston's the right side, and you should bet them at the best number you can find. But if you want a small piece of the chaos, if you want to bet on Maxey's ascension, home court magic, and single game variance, Philly at 25 cents offers just enough edge to make it interesting. Just don't confuse interesting with smart. Smart is Boston at 70. Interesting is Philly at 25. And the beautiful thing about markets, you can bet both if you size it right. That's not being wishy-washy, that's called hedging, and it's what separates the Dajans from the sophisticated Dajans. Thanks for listening to Parlay News. You can support our podcast by following the show, rating it 5 stars, and telling your friends. Remember, the content on this podcast is for entertainment and educational purposes only, and do not constitute financial advice. Prediction markets are extremely risky, and you should never play with more money than you are willing to lose. Always do your own research. Catch you on the flip.
Grab news. Thomas.